Some people say beans and grains didn't exist until 10,000 years ago, and therefore are not our natural foods, and our bodies aren't programmed to eat them, and therefore we are meant to eat animal products. What does the best science have to say about this?
Yeah, beans are part of a larger family called legumes: beans, peas, lentils, and then there's a separate grains. And there, of course, is a food habit called the paleo diet, Paleolithic diet, that was introduced actually by a medical doctor in 1985 with the concept that maybe we could regain some of the health we're losing in the modern society by going back and accepting the idea that legumes, dairy, and grain wasn't part of that diet 20,000 years ago, so let's reproduce it. Interestingly, that doctor, his name is Boyd Eaton, about 4 years ago announced publicly at a major lecture, stop doing the paleo diet I introduced. It's killing the environment. That's literally what he said. Until we can reclaim a way to produce animal products without harming the environment, stop doing this thing. Now, that's not discussed in most paleo crowds, and there's a lot of reasons not to do the paleo diet, although it's better than eating donuts and fried chicken, no doubt, but the environmental damage is one. So that's where that came from. And then more recently, there's an even, I believe, more evil plan called the plant paradox, being promoted by a cardiac surgeon, Dr. Stephen Gundry, out in Palm Springs area, but he's everywhere all the time on the internet, with the idea that he's discovered why American health and Western health has declined, and it's this silent reaction we're having to legumes and grains. Other people have tried to terrify the public about, Dr. David Perlmutter, Dr. William Davis, and these hidden, foods that have anti-nutrients, lectin killers is what he calls the legumes, because of a chemical that is concentrated in many animal and vegetable foods, but are very heavy in legumes, called lectins. Are they all that bad? So all this is out there. The reality is this is all nonsense. This is all scare tactic. It sells books. I mean, the easiest thing to do is to say, I've discovered something nobody else has discovered, and all you have to do is follow my plan that oranges are evil. Stop eating oranges. And I happen to sell for $100 a month an orange blocker for you so you can be sure you optimize your health. Of course, I'm just making that up, but that's what they've done with grains. That's what they've done with legumes, these, I think, fairly insincere doctors, and they've made a fortune. So the greatest support for eating beans, peas, lentils comes from the blue zones. You want to be healthy, you want to be active, you want to avoid chronic disease. Find some people that have done it and do what they do. That's a pretty good principle. That's studying the blue zones. Legumes are this single food that's present in all 5 of these geographic areas of exceptional longevity. It might be a soybean in Japan, and it might be a garbanzo bean in Italy, and it might be a kidney bean properly cooked in Loma Linda, but it's beans and peas and lentils. So that's probably 50% of my diet regularly is beans, peas, lentils. And if you slowly add them in, the gas issue isn't an issue. It's actually great fiber, it's great nutrients, and it's a great protein source at a very low cost. Anybody can buy a bag, a can, a frozen bag of these foods, properly cooked, and enjoy them for the whole family.
Are hemp, flax, and olive oil good for us to eat? Should we try to include these oils in our diet, or should we try to avoid them?
Yeah, I'm a fan of whole foods over processed foods, which include the pressing into oils. I mean, olive oil, we can debate back and forth, but it's not an olive, and an olive has fiber, an olive has minerals and nutrients that are not present in the oil itself, which is going to be 100% fat. There is a lot of fraud in the olive oil industry. It can be a reasonably expensive product, and you certainly, if you're going to use olive oil, which is not a great cooking oil, it may not be a bad choice on a salad if you're a very healthy person, really insist on authentic European, Italian, Spanish, Greek, extra virgin olive oil, or try and find somebody who just came back from a trip to Europe and bring you from the family farm. That's the real stuff, and you can just taste and see the difference if you enjoy it. I'd rather people eat olives. They're generally associated with health. I'd rather they be packed in water than in oil. You just don't need to add in those calories. And the exception might be the person with very severe cardiovascular disease, weight issues and trying to reverse type 2 diabetes, it's really unknown if those diets are more effective without olives. The traditional studies by Dr. Neil Barnard, Dr. Dean Ornish, Dr. Esselstyn, even Mr. Nathan Pritikin, all excluded olives from those disease reversal diets. So is there any nutrient that you absolutely need out of an olive or olive oil? There isn't. They're not essential. There's nothing in them. And olive oil has about 15% saturated fat. It's not as high as coconut and palm oil, but if you're trying to keep your saturated fat content very low, which I would advise for cardiovascular health and prevention, olive oil is a treat or not at all. It's certainly not a regular component. Yet, it's better than butter, and it's better than ghee, and it's better than lard. So if you say, I'm putting something in my salad, I've just given you permission to put extra virgin olive oil. Flax, same thing. I'd rather you use ground flaxseed than flax oil, personally. I like the fiber in ground flax. I like the magnesium. I like the minerals. You know, the flax oil has been stripped of everything but the fats. It's 100% fat. Ground flaxseed's not 100% fat. I actually, really optimize my patients' omega-3 intake when they're on a plant diet. Even when they're not on a plant diet, I do measure omega-3 blood levels. Uniform. Meat eaters, fish eaters, except 4 or 5 servings of salmon a week might have adequate omega-3 blood levels, and many of my plant eaters are low. So they all go home actually with a box of ground flaxseed. I found a brand that has it in little convenient packets, so they can easily put 2 tablespoons a day on a salad, on a breakfast oatmeal, and emphasize how important that is. I really think we've underestimated the benefits of adequate omega-3 precursors, flaxseed, chia seed, hemp seed, walnuts, leafy greens, on brain health and human health. So I'm pretty careful about making sure they optimize that. Now, last comment on fish, because not all fish are rich in omega-3, sardine, herring, and salmon. I don't eat fish, of course, but my patients that eat a lot of fish to get omega-3, when I check their blood mercury level, it's way up. And that's the real life in 2019 in the Western world, is there's a downside to relying on fish, that of course fish don't make omega-3. Fish eat algae, algae make omega-3. So I go to the source. I love chlorella, I love spirulina, I love, now that there's a variety of brands of algae-based omega-3 capsules. You know, in my patients that have like autoimmune disease, I'm really gonna jack up their omega-3 with ground flaxseed, chia seed, hemp seed, but I'll go to these capsules when needed. I really want their blood levels high.